Welcome to Dawn Patrol, your morning show. Today's episode is on miracles. First, what do we believe the word means? And then, let's get into it.
Good morning. And no one's here yet. Guess nobody wants a miracle. I don't know. Let's see here. Let me show you what I'm looking at. I'm looking at this. I thought I remember in this book there being something about miracles. I think it might have been more about Jesus's miracles. So I just wanted to look at it real quick. I thought, yeah, miracles. Yeah, I don't think anybody would dispute, though, what we were talking about. The more I got to talking with people, we got to talk a little more on Ryan's show. I think if people want to call wonderful things or serendipitous things miracles, I think that's cool. Sweet, B's coming. B's gonna be in the house. But yeah, I think that by and large, most people, if I use the definition I use, let's put it that way, they'd say, okay, yeah, that's a miracle. If that's a miracle, then those aren't miracles. Those are different. Or those are Mac Daddy miracles. And then these other ones are not as Mac Daddy. But I think there'd be a problem with saying that. Man, I really wanted to find this before I got on. But coffee was important, man. I had to get some coffee. Ba-boom ba. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
We didn't get your take yesterday, by the way. So this is a perfect opportunity to get your take. What do you say a miracle is? What would you do? How would you define it? And then, or maybe example, I guess. And then, what was the other thing we said yesterday? You probably have a bunch of things you're thinking about. That's why I love you, B.
Oh, I love you too, Brett. It's interesting. Honestly, after listening to you guys yesterday, I feel like I sort of was questioning a little bit of my definition of it, because I think something that I've said in the past is that just two people ending up in the same place in order to talk to each other and communicate in any sort of way feels to me a miracle. Like, I think Scott said something along the lines of the fact that we are born, like Scott was born, Megan was born, Brett was born, is a miracle. But then I feel like when I think of, when we talk about miracles, like when it comes to like scripture or, how they like actually, I don't want to say actually talk about miracles. It's almost like something that can't be properly explained. Like if I were to say how someone was born, well, I mean, I guess you can get to like the smallest, point, and then you say, what is an action potential? And then all of a sudden you're like, well, I don't know. It's just this like weird electrical current that ends up happening. And then like, that's like the cascade of those things is what ends up, evolving eventually into like a human being. But I don't know. I feel like it's more along the lines of the unexplained, the like, I don't know, very, very unexpected. Like it's like almost more than that. And so I don't know. I kind of was going a little bit back and forth. But yeah, I don't know. I still think like the miracle of like us being here at the same time, same place, meeting ever, still kind of feels like a miracle.
Yeah, it's funny. I was actually thinking this, like I was kind of thinking about this after I got off stream yesterday. And I thought, we're so like gravity and electricity, we're so just, well, we know how to explain it. We know how to manipulate it or use it to our advantage in some cases. But we really don't know what it is, right?
Yeah, that's so fair. Yeah.
Like if tomorrow somebody said, aha, I figured it exactly out what it is, how it works, you know what I mean? Um, yeah, I kind of feel like, okay, the now I understand it, and everything just makes sense to me now. No big deal, you know. This isn't that special of a thing, right? So it's kind of weird. It's like if somebody like if you think about in ancient times a birth, you know,
Mm.
like that whole idea is a miracle, like, right? But then science comes in and explains this and says, oh, it's this zygote, and you know, and no, and this is how it is. This is the proper way to go about it, and this is the paper. This we understand these things. It's really not that special. It's like sometimes knowledge can be our worst enemy.
Yeah. I almost feel like the moment we think we're like we know what it is, and the moment we explain it, it's like it takes that miraculous thing and like makes it not a miracle. But I think all of these, like I think nature in it of itself is a miracle. Like, and I think that's because it's like so like how can you explain? You can explain what's going on, but you can't do anything about it. You know, like the waves or the clouds or the sun or the spinning of the earth or whatever. Like what you know, it's like what even is that? And if you spent time trying to think about it, then I don't know.
Some would argue that's the first miracle, period. You know, creation. They were talking about that on David's Bible study.
Mm.
It was Genesis 1, you know, the very first, you know, chapter. And so they were really getting in the weeds there. But I think primarily it was because we had, you know, there were people in the Bible study were maybe atheists and they were just kind of science people, and but they were, you know, hospitable. It wasn't like they were, you know, they respected other people's the traditions. But I don't know. Yeah.
So then if everything like it natural like is or can be miraculous or a miracle, then does that not sort of I don't know, like make it not that miraculous? You know what I mean? It's almost like if everyone's getting a superlative, like is anyone really that special? Like which sounds weird to say when it comes to these types of like miracles, but because I think that it is every time. I think it is still miraculous every time. But
Yeah, but you would
does that
almost
make sense?
you would almost want to re-clarify. You would almost want to redefine what we're talking about, because clearly, and I was thinking about this with Nicodemus, clearly he knew what Jesus was doing was nobody done.
Like
You
it's
know,
different. Yeah, right. Right.
so this is how I know you're from a messenger from God. You know, and so he sees this not being normal, and he's a high priest, right? They even back then they were still casting demons out, I believe, or trying to. Um, so yeah, I mean, we would say this is a wonderful thing that this person was relieved from his demon, you know,
Mhm.
prayed on, prayed over, you know, prayed for, whatever, you know, whatever, um, it that God spared him from this. But and we wouldn't want to diminish that. Like that's such a wonderful thing, right? But then God enters the world as a man, right? As a
Mm.
Christian, that's what
Mhm.
we believe. And all of a sudden there's this man, this that looks like us, that's telling the wind to stop, the storm to stop, and it stops. You know, that's healing 10 lepers. You know, okay, you could say that was, well, it was more of a social contagion. You know, he just He was just really loving guy, okay. Okay. So when he calls Lazarus out of the cave 3 days after he was dead,
Mm.
and he raises and he's got the claw still on him, you know what I mean? It's like that was like what what did we just see? You know what I mean? I mean, things were going down. So that's why I like when John the Baptist's disciples come to Jesus and they go, are you the one, or are you the one we've been waiting for, or is there another, or something like that? And it's almost like Jesus leans into the question. It's like he's not afraid of it. He's like, he goes, so John's disciples ask, am I the one? And he says, go tell John that, the lame are walking, the blind are seeing, and people are being raised from the dead. It's like, so he was basically, stating, remind him of these things and what the whole point of them were, you know what I mean? So it clearly was a significant thing, even to Jesus, what was going on. And so, and because the Bible is written as signs, wonders, and powers, there's clearly a differential than the word we're using as miracles. Because like you said, everything is a miracle, right? So like, okay, that's cool. Then let's say a divine miracle, or let's somehow segregate that. And I think that would be helpful, especially when you have people that are, that believe in, gifts of the Holy Spirit, healing gifts and stuff. It's like nobody's saying God doesn't work in his creation. He doesn't do these things. As a Christian, of course, I believe that.
Right.
But to say that a single individual has that power, or that God prefers to work through this individual, I would tell their ass to get to a child hospital, which sounds like a very atheistic thing to say, like, as a doubter, it just bothers me. And this is what I think what Grim Grizz kind of talks about. It's like, no, aren't we supposed to be casting demons out and praying for people? It's like, yes, we should be praying for people. We should be, trusting that God can do all those things. You know what I mean? But it does seem like either people relegate it to so special that it's probably not going to happen, or, so lack of trust, or, they recognize it's rare. It's kind of like hitting the lotto, and you kind of defeated with the whole idea. Like, I do want to pray for that person, but like, gosh, they may have to live with this. And that brought me to another thing. Anyway, I'll talk about Paul in a minute, but I want to hear what you think.
I just find it fascinating because it's like, it almost seems like I want to use the idea of miracles for something, like, like it's almost like I want to like use it as a tool in order to pay attention to something that is more, like better, higher, more righteous, like all that kind of stuff. And it's like, how, it's like, it almost feels as though I can't properly define that before it happens, because that's not what it wouldn't fall into that category if I had defined it as such. You know what I mean? It's almost like it has to be like seen or something. It has to present itself to you. And then you can say, oh, for sure, that's what that is. Like, it's like, I almost can't say how spectacular it is before it happens. Does it make sense? Which is weird, because I feel like the way that we communicate and the way that we use language like that, it's almost like we are trying to, like, I don't know, guide you towards something, but with something like a miracle and the idea of what I think it's supposed to be, it's like almost so great that I can't actually explain it in words. I can't like be prepared for it. Like, that's almost like the point of it, is that it's not able to be prepared for, or something like that. But I think it does need to be distinguishable between just, and I don't want to say just, but like nature, just nature in general, or like these, very wonderful things that happen all around us that we also need to open our eyes to as well. It's like how to distinguish those two like levels, or multiple probably levels.
I almost think that as time went on after Jesus left, that the idea of what they were, um, it's not that they weren't important. They clearly were part of the story. Matter of fact, I'm looking here, and the Matthew, Mark, and Luke were filled with all of his miracles. A lot of them repeated, some of them not. A lot more in Luke that he documents. John, not so much, and he was a later gospel. There's only like, and again, even I think it's Luke who says, no, it's John who says, we couldn't write enough books for all the things that Jesus did and said. It's kind of like he's not even doing justice. And that maybe harkens back to the fact that he didn't have as many of the miracle stories in his story. But it's almost like it's not that every time John does use a miracle or he's talking about it, he's using the word that's used for the word that he is a Greek word. It's signs, and that's what he uses all the time. So it seems like it changes from this idea of wonders and powers to maybe focusing on the idea of what its point was. And hey, I'm here and I have a message, and this is the message, and boom, But then, and this is just some of the arguments that come into that the gifts have gone away with, the apostolic, the apostles, was that Paul being kind of one of the last guys, right? Even he was asking for healing. He couldn't heal himself, but he could raise somebody from the dead. So, clearly there's there's a bigger point into why he does what he does, and it's not just common, and Paul says, I prayed 3 times for this thorn to be relieved, and it's not. And he's like, and basically I'm going to live with it, and I'm going to accept that and be okay with that, and know that it's, we're good, like kind of like almost like demonstrating that it doesn't, life, it doesn't have to be roses, and, and it have to, having acceptance for sometimes a cross that maybe you do have to bear your whole life, and I think that's special for me, particularly, but it's almost like, because Paul suffers like that, it almost gives him such a better way to love because of it. And I relate to that. Like I know the stuff I have gone through and still kind of go through. And when somebody's telling me something, and I can connect it to the pain and the difficulties that I'm dealing with, it's like, oh, even if they're a jerk, it's like, oh man, this must be a really rough life. You know what I mean? So suffering has a beautiful thing. We were talking about that. It's so funny how we kind of glide into it's like, I love the idea of suffering as an upgrade. I think that it's such a cool, grateful way of seeing my suffering, this was so painful and can sometimes still be painful, but yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think, what was popping up in my head is, and maybe it was because of what Anselman said of the spiritual transformation is more important than the physical healing. And something struck me in that, and then with what you were saying, it's almost like through suffering, because we have this like ability to be like grateful. It's almost like a miracle when these two ideas sort of come together, because then you can see, I don't know, that like through anything, like you can get through like anything, or everything has its like, it's just going to sound weird, but everything has its like purpose, like in the sense of, it's not for, I don't think anything happens for like no reason at all, and you can sort of like, I don't know. And then realizing that, I feel like I realize that when I am suffering through something and I can still find gratitude within it. I think that in and of itself reveals something, that transformation. And it like, that feels like a miracle to me, where it's like, oh, even in like the worst, like the lowest of the lows, like there's like, you can find a little bit to like still be thankful for, or still see through. There's still light at the end of all these like tunnels. Like, what is that? Like the fact that there's still something there, is that feels miraculous to me.
Yeah, especially for people that see it all dark, and it's dark and they see no hope. And then all of a sudden there's this bing, and then it just gets bigger and bigger. It would be probably helpful, this is ironic, is to say, if we were to redefine, like if somebody says that's a miracle, if we were to take one of the three words that the miracle is utilizing in the Bible, which would we use, right? And so like when you think of a birth or meeting somebody, like two people meeting, that's wonderful, right? It's a wonder, right? So
yes,
you could appreciate the wonder aspect of it, right? I mean, let's not to get hyperbolic, or not hyperbolic. Yeah. I would say, I don't think I wouldn't want to equate it with power. It doesn't mean there isn't power in friendship and all that stuff. We can play with these words artistically, right? And say, well, technically you could probably say, you know what I mean? But I'm saying, like, if I'm using power, like a miracle, like calming the storm, or raising somebody from the dead, it's like, that's powerful. Like, you're going against the laws of nature. Like, who else can do that but the person who created it all? You know what I mean?
I almost feel like, yeah, I do know what you mean. Like, I almost feel like it feels more like, there's a power in like in a rushing river, because it's confined within the structure of the banks, like I almost feel like that's the type of like power, not just like chaotic all over the place, uncontrolled, like, I don't know, there's like some sense of control or focus or unity or alignment, or like that comes with that idea of power. So I almost feel like it's more, I was going to say gentle at first, but I don't think it's gentle. I think it's just like, it like has sense. There's a form to it or something. And so I think that's the type of power, because I think I think you're right, because there's definitely other power that I've experienced in my life that's not a fully focused like idea. And that's the thing that I think is a little bit, that's where it gets a little bit sticky. That's not the type of power that I want to like lean into or focus on harnessing, whatever. Yeah, it's like harnessed power. It's harnessed power is what I think of.
Yeah, and I guess, and also it is weird how these words, because it's so crazy how language is. So it's like, okay, power meant one particular thing, right? I mean, they would use that term with authority, right? You have power in authority, and you would use the term strength, right? There's power behind strength, but then we start using, and I truly do believe this does slip out of more Eastern traditions, where the idea of energy and this idea of energy, and it's like, so it gets a little, if I'm being nice about it, it kind of gets a little mystical, right? If you say it in a good way, try to use it in a good way. or say it in a good way. But I think that that's probably how and why so many people tried to tap into the new age movement or the new thought movement or the, even from the Christian movement, that's name it and claim it. It's like this idea that you can do an incantation and see actual results right away for sure, and it's like, if that stuff actually happened, right? Like the problem is that then you wouldn't need faith. I mean, you don't need faith if you're seeing actual legitimate evidence in your face. Not, I'm reading witness statements of a resurrection. I'm not, like you weren't there. You didn't see it. So you're trusting other witnesses to tell you that this resurrection thing happened. But, so there's a faith, right? It just seems logical. I believe in this book because this is how we know history in general. And this is the only book that seems to have outlasted all the others, especially the amount of copies they find. And every time they turn a spade over there in the Middle East, it just continues to confirm its legitimacy, instead of going the other way around, but so it's like, okay, I'm trusting this Bible. I'm trusting this story. I'm trusting the witnesses' statements that all of the writers had, and Luke, and how there's 500 people. You can go talk to them today, he says. Like he's talking to people that are still alive, saying you could talk to these people that are still alive. Plus the story makes, if you really are honest about it, it makes no sense. It's a crazy ass story. Why would somebody make it up? They're just really good storytellers. No, like, if anything, all four people would say the exact same story. Like it would be word for word. Like they would say the exact same thing. And they even had each other's gospels, and it wasn't the same story. They were they showed how stupid they were, the disciples, in their story. They, plus if you go back in the Old Testament, brutally honest with how people were, even the ones that God had called the man after my own heart. He was an adulterer. He killed the guy, to take his wife. It's like golly, man, mankind. Like, why would you write about that? Why, you say the winners write the history is written by the winners. Well, then I think I'd write a better story. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm just always amazed by that.
Yeah, I do find it fascinating. I mean, obviously there's things that people can, point to and say, oh, this word means this, or this word means this, and then that changes the sentence, or like, but I feel like, when I was dissecting the like Great Gatsby, for example, like I feel like there was a different type of like skepticism of the literature than like for like the Bible. There's still like it's amazing how long it has withstood, like, and that the stories still like stand, and that these themes like really do like fall into the context of whatever time, because it really does focus on the archetypal journey of the spiritual walk. And it's like, that's, I don't know, that's like when you can't like when there's like no true ability of like discrediting that as like a whole, like that's power. That's like miraculous. That's pretty crazy. I don't know. Like I think it's like
the idea that people think that they were the debunkers of the Bible. It's like what are you talking about? Like how many people were? I'm not a West Huff, so I can't do it like he does it because he rambles so fast, and he's like 1600 years, however many authors, over in 3 different languages. It's like, he's like explaining the fact that like how can you look at this and see the connection from time this you know literally whatever you however you want to see Genesis and the creation story, right? Okay, whatever you want to say, they're trying to paint a picture of exactly how God did what he did, or you can say no, it literally happened this way, or whatever. I'm not going to get into that argument. The point is that you have the Genesis story, and then you have all of these stories, right? And then
Mhm.
eventually they stop and they do like a genealogy and they explain like, okay, this is where we're at now. And then they go forward and then they have like, you flood and then, okay. And these are the guys that are left. And then they go forward. And so like when they go back and do genealogies and they're trying to show this long arcing story, right? But then you
Mhm.
got these people that are like, I guess this is the thing. Like when I said this to Ryan, it's like when an atheist is standing before, there's a guy named Frank Turek online that goes to colleges and talks about this stuff and answers questions. And he
Mhm.
says, after he's been talking with an atheist for like 5-10 minutes, right? And there's just, and he answered his questions, but it's like he just doesn't want it, and he just asks everyone that before he leaves them, he says, if Christianity were true, would you be a Christian?
Mm.
And a lot of them, they're honest. They're like, if it were true, no, I still wouldn't be a Christian. And I'm like,
Yes.
wow. Like, and this reminds me of Revelations where there'll be people at the end still shaking their fist,
Yeah.
not wanting him, not wanting to be with him, which is just so crazy to me. I just can't comprehend that. But if somebody does say, if Christianity were true, I would be a Christian. He says, would you, if I give you a book, will you read it? And he gives them, there's more faith. It takes more faith to be an atheist, his book. So he gives them that book and he says, if there's anything I can do, whatever, like he reaches out to him. But I think that's a really powerful question, especially in the age of, oh, we're doing apologetics and we're convincing people of this and that. It's like, obviously my framework doesn't believe I can convince anybody of anything. I should have a defense. I should have I should be able to talk about these things, right? Talking about a miracle, like, oh, that's nonsense. You believe in miracles. Like we're talking about supernatural miracles. Nonsense. It's just not explained yet. I pray
Mm.
for you, Rob. I pray that someday that something opens your eyes and is like, wow, that's unexplainable. And then you're able to connect it in a way that your heart can really see it. And that's my desire. And I can't explain that any more better than that,
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's why, like, for me, like, I found my, like, spiritual journey through, like, a very wordy philosophical journey because, like, when you start to realize that and I know that I've used this phrase and it probably has, like, pinging sugar words, but, like, the idea that you can't proposition or convince yourself through, like, a transformative experience is just, like, so obvious when you've tried to do it for years and years and years. Like, to say, like, "Oh, I'm going to be a Christian today," or "I'm going to believe today," or "I'm going to see the world in this way today." Like, you can say that all you want. But the miracle for me is when you wake up one day and all of a sudden you're like, "Oh shit, I believe that. I see it. Like all these things that like that I was trying to see for so long are right there." And I didn't convince myself of it today. It just finally happened. I didn't say it 10 times. I didn't say it 10 million times, and that was enough. It always felt like it was like, that wasn't it. It was something bigger than me. The Holy Spirit finally came through me, like whatever you want to say, however you want to explain it in whatever words you want to, it doesn't matter. It's not something you could do. It wasn't something I could do. Anyways, it was something bigger than that.
Oh man, I think what it was, you know what it was for me, which very
Mm.
Constantinople, a Constantine of me. I think because I deep down knew that if I was going to really look at God and see Christ for who he was, it was going to have ramifications for how I live my life.
Yeah.
And so I really liked the Protestant, soft, fluffy Jesus that, all you got to do is come down and, you know, ask him into your heart. It's like, okay, it's not that asking them into your heart isn't the thing. It's just that this isn't a cantation. You know what I mean? These aren't words that you say and then miraculously just happens, or that it's in the water and you have to be baptized. And when you're baptized, then you're baptized with the Holy Spirit. It's like prescription, description in the Bible. It's like they're
Hmm.
describing something and we just make it a prescription for how the salvation thing works. And it's like, no, there's people that get baptized and they come out and they go, wait a minute, I don't feel any different. What's going on? Well, that's because obviously there has to be a heart transformation and it's nothing you can do. So I resign to the fact that that's out of my capability. So when it comes to talk about a personal miracle, yeah, I mean, I guess I would try to say that my heart changing and my attitude changing and my desires changing is miraculous, you know.
Mm.
Um, but I don't think it's psychosomatic, because who would want to be criticized as a crazy Christian? Who would want it's like C.S. Lewis, liar, lunatic, Lord. It's like, well, you have to come to grips on who you see him to be. Do you really see him as a liar? Is that how you see it? Do you see him as a crazy person? He doesn't sound very crazy to me,
Mm.
you know? So I don't know. But I do think about these definitions, I think you brought it up. Believe we've gone over, faith we've gone over. Yeah, truth. That's God, I'm not a pilot. I'm not a guy that wants to say what is truth, like as if I don't know truth. Like the idea, well, we can never know truth. No, I think it's a cop out or it's an over intellectual answer. Um, it's just, I don't think that, like the definition that I'm working with here is conformity to fact or reality and and the exact accordance with that which is, has been, or shall be. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
I mean, do you think that definition is sufficient? Conformity to fact or reality, right? So you're conforming to this fact or reality, and the exact accordance with that which is, and has been, or shall be. I think there was a metaphor from a philosopher that used the chair analogy, right? Like I have faith in this
Mm.
chair. I have faith gravity's gonna keep me in this chair or something like that. It was some weird philosophy. I don't know.
And then, well, I also, the only part of that I struggle with is this idea of of facts. Like, I know what the definition of facts are, like something that, actually exists. But the more and more I try to say that like things exist, the less and less certain I am that they do. Like, and maybe this is just because I think of in a very like perceptional type of mind. Like I feel like we can convince ourselves of so many things and their realness. Like the example is like, is Santa Claus real? Like how, like it, like maybe not in the sense of like he's like a literal object in front of us, but if you say like the impact that Santa Claus has on the world, like he's more real than this mug sometimes. And like so in like what capacity is that? And so I think it's like interesting to me to think about something that's like a fact, or that just like for sure is, because I don't know.
Guys,
Thinking about that
it's almost like,
was
not to
tough.
get into culture wars, but like it's
Yeah.
the idea, that's why it's so funny to get people on camera and say, well, what is the definition of a woman? What do you think a woman is? It's like we know what a woman is. Like, if you're a woman, you know factually that I'm a woman. Like, I'm saying not me. I'm saying
Someone clip that. No, I'm kidding.
Oh
Right.
boy. But you know what I mean? But it's like, no, that's not my truth. My truth is how I feel in my head. Like, even though physically and biologically, that's not a fact, but yet we want to blur this idea of truth. This is what's so frustrating with the internet and how we've evolved in this space, is that we literally have gotten okay with saying, well, I don't think I can ever know truth. It's like, are you serious? Like, come on, man, back up for a minute. Take it step by step. Am I wrong, Olson? Can we know truth? Is there any way to know truth? Bloop.
Was it? I mean, Pilate asked that, right? Pontius Pilate. What is truth?
Yeah.
And Jesus gives an answer.
He couldn't answer or didn't answer?
No, he gives the answer.
Yeah.
He gives the answer. I guess that's good enough for Jesus. Good enough for me.
That's the papyrus of that verse, of that part of the scripture. It's like my favorite one. I came here to bear witness to truth. What is truth?
So what did he say?
You want me to read the verse for you?
Yeah.
So we can quote it up. Let's quote this thing up.
Quote it up.
Run it back.
Run it back. Run the footage back.
Screw it. We're doing it live. Let's go.
Yeah. When I was younger, they used to scare me.
Factually, I'm a woman. That's so cracking me up.
I mean, if that's your truth, right?
Then I'm not talking about truth.
I'll make sure to add that particular spot in the comments.
I need to get my hold on a minute.
Also, Olsen, did you shave your face hairs?
I did
recently?
earlier. I did it
Like a couple days ago, maybe.
a couple days ago.
It looks good.
Yeah. Thanks.
It looks
that's your truth. You could have that. Wow.
You know what the worst part about the Bible app is? It sucks. I try to use that every once in a while.
I'm so glad you put app in there, like that.
Yes. Worst thing about the Bible.
Yeah, it's horrible. Like, especially the search. When
Tell
you
me
do
where
a
it is.
search,
I'll get it.
No, I got it. Hold on.
Olsen, tell me where it is. See if I can beat him.
Is it Matthew?
It's like John something. John.
Johann.
I used to know it by heart.
So it'd be John 18?
Somewhere there, 17, 18-ish.
17, he's still praying for him, isn't he?
Yeah, I think you're right. This is the worst. What kind of Christian am I?
The trial before Pilate.
Yeah.
That's it.
Chapter 18. Got him.
I get my flannel Jesus gold star.
Remember the sword drills? Did you hear about that? I think Baptists used to do that. They called sword drills. It was like the idea you stick a sword, like a knife, in the middle of the Bible and you open it up. And it's like you kind of drill yourself. It's like basically a study tool. Just open the Bible anywhere and then start reading and like see if you can know where they're at in the story and whatever.
Oh, no.
Sword drills, they call them.
We did crazy
there
stuff
it is.
like that,
37, verse 37.
37, yeah.
And Pilate said to him, "So you are the king?" Jesus answered, "You say that I am a king. For this purpose I was born, and for this purpose I have come into the world, to bear witness to the truth. Everyone who is of the truth listens to my voice." And then Pilate said, "What is truth?" After he had said this, he went back outside and told the Jews. So he didn't respond after that. He responded before.
Right.
Yeah, he stopped talking after that. It's like, I just got done telling you what truth is. And I kind of almost feel like, and a lot of people take that verse differently. Like some people say it's him being sarcastic, Pilate. What is truth? You know? And then some people are like, well, his wife was having these dreams. Like, I think he might have genuinely be asking, what is truth? Like, what are we talking about here? You bear witness to truth. What is truth? You know, but I don't think he cared.
I think Pilate cared. And I think
You think he cared what truth was?
Yeah, I think he does. Yeah.
As a judge, you mean, because he was judging the situation?
I don't know. I just always read it to mean he cared, but maybe not. I mean, that's my own interpretation. But I think Jesus does answer it. Right? Like the whole rest of John's story is then a testament to that.
Mm.
He's like, I came to show the truth, and then Pilate's like, well, what's truth? And Jesus is like, hold my bread and wine.
Yeah.
Hold my beer.
Yeah, maybe that. So
I do like that though, that everyone who belongs to the truth listens to my voice. And I think that really speaks to like everything that we were talking about of like it's not that it's not being said all over the place. It's just like, are you finally at the ability to hear it, to listen to it, to like believe it? Because I feel like what is being presented to us constantly, the is his voice, but it just sometimes we're just not able to hear it. Like we can't listen to it, and it's not that he's not speaking well enough or in a way in which we can understand. It's just that we seem to be in a place where we're not belonging to the truth. We're not seeking. We don't actually want to hear it yet. Like you said, like it's like they don't actually want to know, or they don't actually care about it yet. It's like until you've come to the place where you can receive it, you won't be receiving that truth. It's almost like you can't speak on it yet, or something like that. Or at least that's sort of what that line says to me.
yeah, thinking on it. I'm doing yeah. I think all the talk of miracles. It's interesting because even in certain places, Jesus wasn't able to do miracles.
Wasn't able?
I mean, that's what he says.
Did he?
Yeah, he said, I am unable to do miracles here because of their lack of faith.
Yeah, I don't think that means what we would think it means, though.
Okay. Yeah, maybe.
I mean,
So,
if Jesus is God, are you saying that he's incapable of doing anything?
I do not the interplay of fully man and fully God is beyond. I'm just going by what he's saying. So, yeah. I mean, what do you think he's saying there? I'm open
I don't
to.
know. I think it's maybe more providential than it is capable. It's like, it's like, I don't know. It's kind of like when I say I can't do that here. Like, it's not that I can't. Surely I won't.
It almost feels like a pearls over swine type of thing.
Uh-oh, here we go with some more heresy.
I missed the last 2 seconds of heresy.
It was your introduction, Shipley. That was just your introduction. Don't worry.
It's okay. It's okay.
You and
I got in on the
heretics.
interesting part. I heard you saying God can't do miracles, Olsen, and something like that.
Yeah, get on him.
Get on me.
I'm gonna put you up top where B is. I'm gonna bring B
Pause.
down here with me. You two. We're the moderators.
No, I probably side with Olsen. But I don't think it was inability. I think it was probably more inappropriate. So I interpret that verse. It wouldn't be right for him to have done it because of their lack of faith.
We're on
That makes
we're
sense.
on B. I'm putting us over here. We're on the right side.
But also,
Yeah.
I had to scold Olsen. Like, you missed the perfect setup when he was saying, "What is truth?" And you could have come back with, "You can't handle the truth."
Yeah. I almost wish Jesus said that. That would have been awesome. Clearly, you can handle it.
He would have been far ahead of his time. You need me on that wall. You want me on that wall.
Oh man, I used to have that verse memorized. I have so many bad verses memorized. Like, not verse, I call it a verse. Like, the lines in
Don't know
movies.
if the book of Jack Nicholson or
The drill sergeant from Full Metal Jacket. That was another one. I had that whole thing memorized.
Gospel of Jack. That's getting very heretical now.
Yes.
Sounds like you're at a soccer match or a rugby match
again.
Rugby. Yeah, there you go.
All right, if it's too loud, I can mute.
No, you're good.
Okay. Is it like a local team or is it family playing or?
It's just like close friend of my daughter's. Leave it at that.
Close friend.
We are not allowing it to be anything more than that, please.
Okay.
You don't put a name to it, it's not a thing, right?
Exactly.
Just hoping someone gets a really big tackle. Is that what you're saying, Andrew? Someone gets tackled really hard out there. You're not going to be mad about it.
If you see me running onto the field, maybe. But I wanted to ask, Brett, do you think you got to, anyway, more on topic, what you were trying to get with this like miracles conversation?
Yeah, actually, I do. I think because the problem is, just like with everything, we use words differently today than they were used, and so now that we're in a world of everything is hyperbolic, everything is extreme, everyone's a Nazi. You know what I mean? It's like, like the words don't mean what they used to mean. So like miracles has been overused, and so if we were to distinguish what I'm talking about as a miracle in a narrow definition, everybody I think would agree, okay, then that's fine. If that's your definition of what a miracle is, I can agree. Those things are so different than these other things that are wonderful, that are wondrous, that are like, you know, his plan in creation and how he allows people to meet people and how their story can impact this person's story. You know, like that is amazing. You know, the way that he sets us up like that. And if people want to call him a miracle, that's fine. I just feel like there's a fundamental difference between that type of miracle and like, you know, rising out of the grave. You know, that's an entirely different miracle. And I just don't know that I would want to mix them, you know.
Can you summarize it for me? Because you had like the 3 words, which was like
power,
signs,
signs, and wonder.
And wonder.
Yeah.
Are you saying any one of those 3 applies as miracle in your definition?
No, that's the Greek.
Yeah.
Miracle,
what I'm
miracle's the English translation for the Greek, and it was those 3 words only.
Yes, but what I'm saying is like those 3 kind of encompass, I think, all of the ways that we've spoken about it, because it's
well, so early on we were talking about how John, he only uses the word sign. He doesn't call them wonders or powers. He also doesn't write as many of the miracles down, and he's one of the last books to be written, right? So the idea is that clearly the elevation that we kind of put on these things no longer is as necessary, except for the fact that these people witnessed it, you know. So it's like these miracles were there to represent authority from God, a messenger from God. That's why they were there, right? So when they wrote about them, when John writes about them, he writes about them as signs. That's how he uses it, you know. And then other authors use, no, Claire, you're not coming in. Ay, ay, ay.
Okay, so yeah, I'm with you on like almost the wonder of creation can be viewed as miraculous. I think God's like divine intervention in situations, whether it's healing or raising the dead, can obviously be him interacting in miracles. Like, and then like obviously God's like power being displayed is miraculous. I think I've always used the definition that it's miracle is basically it's like something, or it's the power of God when it's outside the normal functioning of the world, God intervening in that situation. But it felt like you were hesitant to say that they can still operate today through people, but
I'm not hesitant. I just don't think I don't think it's happening.
You don't think it's happening?
No, I don't think that somebody has a gift of healing. Do I think God answers prayers? I absolutely do. Do I believe in the supernatural? I absolutely do. Yeah, but that's a far cry from somebody being told to stand up and walk, or somebody to be all of a sudden given sight.
Do you think people have a gift of prophecy?
What's your definition of prophecy?
Basically,
intuitiveness, or a special word from God?
I think special words from God.
No.
Even though Paul says we should eagerly desire it.
Yeah. It depends on what you think he's talking about.
It says eagerly desire the spiritual gifts, especially prophecy.
All right. Well, you know what else it says there? We should test all of it. And so like when a prophet comes up and says, Andrew, I've got a feeling you're going to get a really good job, and it doesn't happen. And you go, well, it didn't happen. I guess you were wrong. So no, I think I just misinterpreted the prophecy. That's the problem. I just didn't get the word. I didn't get what he was telling me about you right. You see how they always like there's a shift. Now, it doesn't mean that
I'm 100% on board with you when you, or I'll be 100% agreeing with the people that you are skeptical of. and the serious like excesses of it. But it's what I posted in the comments yesterday. I think the abuse of a gift doesn't, or the appropriate correction for the abuse of a gift is not the no use of the gift. It's like if you have an abusive father, is the correct correction of that, oh, we should just do away with fathers? Of course not. That's ridiculous. Like the healthy correction for an abusive father is actually a healthy father in a situation.
You're
the
not
appropriate
listening,
like
Chad.
the appropriate like response to like the abuse of a gift should surely be the appropriate use of the gift, and like you said, the correct testing of it and use of it. It can definitely be abused and has been abused, and I think there's actually globally a lot of like being exposure of people that are abusing it, and I think it's healthy. But I wouldn't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
All right, let me be very clear. Let me be very clear. Miracles, the miracles I'm talking about are the miracles that Jesus did and the apostles did. I don't think that's happening anymore. Period. Now, do I think miracles, quote unquote, are happening? If we're talking about wondrous things where God enters the world and does things, interacts with his creation, I 100% agree. You want to call them miracles? Fine. We'll call them miracles. So I agree. That's all happening. Do I think that he puts something on someone's heart, and makes me want to engage somebody, and whatever that means? Yeah. I do think that happens. But sometimes I'll talk to him and I have no idea what I just said. Like clearly there must have been some kind. I'm not saying I'm like I was a robot and I was taken over like a Muppet. I'm saying I was involved in the conversation. We had a conversation and I really have no idea what I really just said, but somehow I'm told days later that was an amazing conversation, what you said to me. You know what I mean? It's like, so there's things that definitely I don't necessarily have an understanding of, but I also am not going to I'm not going to say I have the gift of prophecy, because people are telling me that I'm telling them things that are coming true. And I'm, you know what I mean? I'm not reading into that. And so that's the fundamental difference that I have with it. Now, if people want to be charismatic about things, that's fine. That's their tradition, and that's why there's different traditions. People are attracted to those traditions, but I don't necessarily think that what I'm doing is safeguarding something that's, in my opinion, that's very precious to me. So I see the miracles that Jesus performed and the apostles performed as being something very specific for a specific purpose. And that's fundamentally different than what we hear in like the healing movements and and those type of things. And so because there is a distinction in my world, it makes it a little clearer. Whereas in their world, it's ambiguous and we're not really sure and we can't sift through this stuff.
I understand the impulse. Like I said, I agree with you on the excesses. So I understand the desire to do that. I also understand that I've been influenced a lot by similar like theological streams, and I understand the desire for that like certainty and clarity. I just disagree from one personal experience. I've seen God operating in that way. I would be cautious to claim any certain gifts, and I'm very cautious of people that do claim that I have a gift of healing or this or that. But if I look at scripture as a whole, it seems to encourage us to actually trust for that. I think the God that works miraculously through Moses and the prophets in the Old Testament and everybody that was filled with the Spirit in the Old Testament, and then Jesus actually saying, I'm giving you the Spirit, and Paul's encouragement to actually have the gifts of the Spirit operating in churches. Personally, I can't get away from the fact that I think we're actually encouraged to operate in them. but to operate them in a healthy way. Like even when Paul's discussing it, whether it's 1 Corinthians 12 and 14, he says, but the most important thing is actually love, and make sure you're doing it in an appropriate way. And so I agree with your caution, and I think that's what I was trying to get at. I think that was your hesitancy with like the conversation about miracles. I don't want to like read into it, but like it seemed like that's what you were trying to like circle around or discussing. But like we were discussing around it rather than necessarily addressing it. Maybe that's just my perspective.
And that's the thing. I just think that people misunderstand what I'm talking about. Like Chad's losing his mind over there. It's like, no, you're missing what I'm saying. If you want to call all these things miracles, fine. That doesn't mean that we just disagree on the word that's being used. That's it. I think all of those things can happen. I don't think somebody that has no leg can have a leg added back on nowadays. I don't think somebody can be raised from the dead. No, I don't think that. Now, there's stuff that God uses in the natural world that literally we can't explain why it happened or what. We don't have any explanation for it. And somebody would say,
"Are you saying that God can't do it?"
No. I'm not saying he can't do it. I'm saying he's not doing it.
It's not normative. He's not normally doing that.
Right now, have you heard anybody be raised from the dead? Now,
no,
after
like
Jesus.
I said, it's not normative.
Okay.
Is it possible? I think absolutely.
Yeah,
God
can do anything. I think we're talking past each other here. That's what I'm saying.
No, we're not. We're discussing it, but we're coming from different perspectives. Yes.
No, we believe the same thing. God can do anything.
Yeah,
for sure.
Steph.
What's up, Steph? Man, this sparks Stephanie to come on. Yes. Set me straight.
Triggered.
Oh,
Set me
no,
straight.
I have questions.
Great. Olsen has answers.
Good. Let me see if I can if I can even coherently express my questions. I was thinking about miracles and can people be raised from the dead, and and all the things you guys have been talking about, and is there a difference in the miracles that are given to us in the Bible versus miracles we are able to experience in today's world? And then I was reflecting on two different things, and they seem to be correlated. One was, what were the miracles in the Bible to be used for?
Yes.
Right? So they were, I think, the way I understand it, is they were to show the people the greatness of God. Show, for God to somehow reveal himself to the people. And
so do you think it's to prove God or to prove that they're messengers from God?
I hadn't given that a whole lot. I think to prove God.
Well, don't you think creation proves God? That's the evidence.
Also, well, there's so many ways. I was just thinking about, the feeding of the 5,000, the specific miracle. And then what happened after that, right? The crowd wanted him to be king. The crowd wanted him to do more for them. But he left, and then the crowd followed him and found him. And he's like, you misunderstood my miracle. You just want me to give you more bread, like physical bread. But he wanted a spirit. I want a spirit. If I understand it, the way I understand it, he was saying, I did that so you could be spiritually transformed. Believe in me. I'm the bread of life. Now, mind you, my Bible study is my deep diving into the Bible is a project of the last few years. And the problem with that is that I'm older and I forget too. So I can't even hold on to all of it. So if I get some of these specific details, don't let my lack of specific correctness get in the way of what I'm trying to say. But are you tracking with what I'm saying as far as that story goes? And I feel like there are still miracles like that happening all around us, and we miss the point of them. I think that's just a human thing that continues to happen. One story is I will tell is there's a very young child that almost drowned in our circle of friends. This happened, and we prayed for a miracle. This child survived and has no bad, there are no neurological or physical problems. Now, if that's not a miracle, I don't know what is. But it's been but has it transformed the people you might think would be transformed by that? That I wouldn't, not yet. So I don't know. I feel like so many things, and are still, yeah, that's, I guess I'll leave it at that. So what was my question? My question is, yeah, I guess along the lines of, in today's world, can we still, are miracles still happening in the same way? And I guess, I feel like they are. God is continuing to speak to us through various types of miracles, and we still may miss the signs, wonders, and the power as human beings. I don't know. What do y'all think?
I think that this Brett's attitude is very telling on why I think the world is where it is today, as far as belief goes and possibilities of spiritual vitality in the world. And I think it kind of revealed something to me this morning. It makes me really sad, actually, especially since it gets broadcasted from the mouth of a Christian.
That word is so loaded, Christian.
Oh, sure is, especially if you say you're one. How dare you, is what I think.
I mean, if I was as moody as you get, I would probably just throw you off, but that's not how I am. I don't operate that way. No,
why don't you?
That's not because the point. No, Olson, you don't try to play games. Listen, here's the deal. The way that I see.
Deal?
Listen to what I'm saying.
Like, I heard what you said.
Oh no, you're not. You're not understanding what I'm saying.
Well, see, you're not understanding what I'm saying.
Oh, I understand.
Megan, what do you have to say?
What do I have to say about?
Yeah. What Steph was saying.
Oh,
these two guys can have a discussion offline, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I truly believe that, like, me getting into this space and being pulled out of the hole that I was describing to Ron, that feels like I feel like I was pulled from the dead in a metaphorically speaking sense. I also feel like, the cancer that my mom had, where she was told she would never talk or eat or like actually be able to interact with her children, and she could do all of those things perfectly. Like, I think that's a miracle that, is still having like spiritual repercussions like afterwards in like a very positive sense. The fact that my grandmother like flatlined like 8 times and then came, like, they all called her the angel of the hospital, and that she came back to life and then lived for an additional 11 years, like, to impact me and my life. And like, I definitely believe that, well, yes, there's not these specific big, the physical miracles that we see, particularly in the Bible. I also feel like there are those physical miracles that look very different in modern times that are spiritually awakening, at least me in my context, in my world. And so that's all I can really speak to. And those feel very miraculous and very much like they happen all the time. So I don't know. That's what I would say on those things.
Can I do have another question? Can we envision what?
Oh no, I can't envision you, Stephanie, in the dark. But...
Yeah, Stephanie, we need you back.
Come back, Stephanie. from my experience coming from Africa, like there were a lot more people. They were a lot more open to miracles, and generally you saw a lot more supernatural activity, both good and bad. So I think a lot of this is like influenced by a very Western culture, which I think has been closed off to it, which I think similar to what we were actually saying earlier. It's almost like if we put the supernatural out of our lives, it almost wouldn't be appropriate for God to operate in that way, similar to what we were saying earlier. And I think from my perspective, it's like from cover to cover, Scripture seems to show a God that wants to interact powerfully in our lives and through us. And I think we're encouraged to actually trust for that. And I think he is incredibly mysterious in how he hides, that we can't nail him down into a box, that this is the formula, this is how it works. And I think that's what you like rejecting, Brett, where people are trying to claim, I know how this works and I've got this gift and I can operate in it in this way. So I think there's a way to actually thread the needle and hold on to both sides.
That's what I'm saying. I totally agree. I feel like it's like we're talking about specific people claiming to have gifts, and that's the part I'm rejecting. And then I'm talking about the fact that if you want to call these beautiful, amazing, spectacular things that are happening in our world, in our life, like with Dee's grandmother, yes. If you want to call them a miracle, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with it. All I was doing was distinguishing what the miracles that Christ was doing and the apostles were doing were fundamentally different than anything we're seeing today. That's
lesser,
all I was
right?
doing.
They're lesser, right? Because you said you'll go on to do greater things.
So that means greater miracles?
I don't know.
I think he was talking about the amazing word of God spreading across the world. I don't think it was these little things like our healing from our maladies. I think the healing of a heart is more better than me having an extra leg. If I have to have one, I'd rather have one leg and my heart reformed than two legs without a heart. That was where I was going with that. Stephanie, you got cut off and you got booted out.
Yeah. I was going to ask a question. It almost sounds dumb to me now, though. It's only been 5 minutes. But I guess, why aren't miracles more effective? Why weren't they more effective even in the Bible? I mean, these are the kinds of questions that go to my mind. You know, why didn't? I mean, what would it take for us to believe today? You know, for the whole world to believe. I mean, God could do miracles like that, couldn't he? Surely. I don't know.
It reminds me of the Lazarus conversation. He says, can you go back and tell them and just have somebody be raised from the dead to tell them? And he's like, that doesn't matter. They won't believe even then, right? We were talking about that. You know, Jesus gets raised from the dead and they still don't believe. You know what I mean? So
we've had in our Bible study, people say things like, and I totally get it. Well, if only they had a video camera to if they could just have taped the resurrection, I'd believe. And then the argument is, would you though? Would you really? Or would you? I don't know. These are just questions I have.
No, that's such a good question. I love it.
Hi, Andrew.
I couldn't hear, Steph.
Oh, my question was, what was it? Why couldn't miracles be more effective?
Yeah.
In other words,
I bet, Stephanie,
I was telling the story in my Bible study how, I don't know if you can hear me. I don't know. I don't want to repeat it.
Can you now? Yep.
Okay. In my Bible study, somebody asked the question of if only they could have videoed the resurrection, then I could fully believe. Right now, I just have my doubts, and then other people are saying, no, you still wouldn't believe. That's still not a guarantee you would believe. So my question is, my question, one of the spiritual questions I have is why do we have to struggle with doubt? Why couldn't God just give us that faith that we desire? Doubt is something for me. Doubt comes back. I mean, even if I'm a believer, but I still, if you're not doubting, I think you're not doing it right in some ways. You're not thinking about it
Yeah,
enough
that's
or
such
something. I don't know.
yeah, that's such a good question. And doesn't in one of the epistles it says pray for faith as well.
Mm.
Which is like having faith in faith.
Somebody else. I can't hear. Can you guys hear Andrew?
Oh, yeah, Olson is talking right now.
Oh,
You
sorry.
can't hear Olson?
I can't hear anybody. I'll come
Oh.
back in.
Okay.
Oh, that's such a good question.
Like
And
musical StreamYard. It's like pop in, pop out.
I'm gonna have to pop out pretty soon and get going to work. But yeah, I think it's interesting, Brett. I see where you're trying to say like what the apostles and Jesus were doing were a little bit different than you're trying to just draw a distinction so that you're safeguarding the message and the words and the the deeds of Jesus and the apostles from false prophets who come in and pretend to claim stuff. So like I see that, but you know, but at the same time, like why, as I asked Mark Parker the other day, like what was going on for Jesus to say you couldn't cast out that demon because you need to fast and pray. And how is that different from what we're doing? And another side note, like this super geeky side note, but I don't think any appendages were ever amended, right? Like a added appendage was ever added as a miracle. I don't think that was. And one other kind of miracle to show like to
Except for lizards.
what lizards? Yeah, lizards did. I actually worked with a guy in ministry who had a big physical body miracle, like we think of, where his body used to be covered in tattoos, and he came to know Christ, and he knew that if he went back out on the streets, because he felt he knew God was calling him into ministry. And he said if he goes back out into the streets with these tattoos, no one was going to be able to listen to the message that he has. And so he prayed that God would take away his tattoos, and he did. And there are people, like, he grew up in the hood, and so there were people
Whoa.
that knew him when he had the tattoos, and they're like, yeah, he doesn't have them anymore. So I don't know, stuff like that still happens.
That's awesome.
So I gotta go to work. Stephanie, that was a good question.
I wish I heard the answer. I'll go back and listen.
Well, I don't know, Steph. I feel like we're like,
Yeah,
I don't want to
should
say
go walk my
supposed.
dogs. I think I've done enough.
You can't hear? She
Yeah.
finally comes on and she can't hear.
I think it might be me. I'll say 2 seconds and then I'll go. I think in response to like Steph's question, it seems to just be the way that God set up the world. Like if the Israelites being set free from Egypt with like the miraculous like plagues and incredible wonders, and within a generation they're forgetting, and like every time God kind of comes through and then they forget, and seems to be the same thing in the New Testament. Like even with Jesus performing miracles, it didn't convince absolutely everybody. And I think the same thing with us. He seems to play like this incredible divine hide and seek in one sense, or for not to, I don't know, say it flippantly, but it's like he's left that mystery so that we have to trust him and rely on the miraculous nature of God, and he won't let us like put him into a box of this is how it is. And that's maybe my encouragement to you, Brett. I love the desire to try and like safeguard. I agree with you, like there are excesses from it. I just don't think, like I just disagree on that. That is the right scriptural interpretation of where to get the safeguard. I think the safeguard is actually trusting God to do what's right, because I do believe there's some people that are more gifted in certain areas, And that includes the things that may be gifts of healing and prophecy, and those can be abused or used correctly. But I don't think it's a magical tool that they can just walk around and switch it on and off. Like you saying, if you have a gift of healing, just go to the children's hospital. I don't think it works like that, but I think there are people that can work more in certain areas than in others. But anyway, we can agree to disagree on that and still be friends and call ourselves Christians.
Yeah,
we seem to be afraid to do that.
I think what it is that a lot of people that I've met that came in, have come into my tradition, that are from the their hyper charismatic movement that they came from. They're trying to reorientate themselves because of a bad situation, and so when they try to add those things into the conversation, I just ask them, if you never felt anything in your heart, if you never felt like the goosebumps, if you never saw a miracle or what you thought was a miracle, would you still be a Christian? And I've had a lot of them just look at me with this crazy look, I don't know. I don't know if I would. And it reminds me of what the Pharisees are asking for a miracle. He's like, the only miracle you're going to get is a sign from Jonah, So it's to me, it seems like if this is something that is that important for people, I guess if that's what they need, then I am all for that. But I hope that isn't what their faith is hanging on, is all on this idea of, that miracles exist and therefore, and all this stuff happens. And it's well, when people fail you and the human fails and the information's wrong, or there is a lie, if all of it is hung on this shingle of the belief of these things, and it crashes and your faith crashes. Now, I'm not saying that's an exact one-to-one scenario and that it has to happen that way. I'm just saying that that's the thing I'm trying to prevent the most, Yeah.
And I've seen that myself, and I've seen people coming with similar backgrounds, with similar really flawed theology. But fortunately, God doesn't wait till we have perfect theology to have a genuine relationship and journey with us. And that reminds me of Paul or PBK's rando with the girl at, what was it, at the conference, and just how her theology was completely rocked and changed in a complete way. And sometimes we go through seasons like that, and it doesn't necessarily mean what we kind of step into is now we know all the truth. We may be just as flawed in our new understanding, but it is the next chapter that God's got us on. I know, I've been through a number of chapters with a number of different theological streams in my life, and in every one I was convinced that, hey, we had everything right, and I didn't see my blind spots. And it's I still know that there's areas that I'm completely wrong in my thinking, but I have to believe what I believe now and journey together with those around me. Anyway.
Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate it, buddy. All right. You want to wind her down? What do you think, Chad? Do you want to throw your you want to put some stuff out there?
Yeah, okay. So what should somebody's faith be rooted in then?
I would say what he came to do and realizing I needed it.
What does that mean?
So, well, I have this Bible, right? And it tells me the story about this cool guy, Jesus. And yeah, he did some miracles, and that's great. There's nothing, I think that's amazing, right? But since I didn't see these particular miracles, right, they clearly were demonstrating something to the people around him. And to the point where, like Nicodemus said, we know you're a messenger from God, or you would not be able to do the things you're doing. So like you have these high priests that are saying, you know, hey, this is significant. He's also claiming to be God. We're going to stone him. So like the story is pointing to what he's here to do and why he needs to do it, right? And so identifying that I'm a sinner and I need a savior, right? That's to me what I'm resting my faith on. It's not that he performed these miracles and that he did all these things. So do they point to him being who he says he is? Like, do they point to him being this who he ends up being? Yeah, of course they do. But that's like, I'm not hanging. This is why the whole point was like, if somebody today is in my face and I'm visually seeing what I believe to be a miracle, and I have all this faith on this idea, and it's all hung up on what I'm seeing in Christianity with these miracles. And I'm, you know, that's the thing. So, you know, I don't know if that helps at all.
I'm more confused. I mean, yeah, I'm kind of confused on what you're trying to say. Because like well, maybe you're just speaking from your own experience. Because you sound like you're speaking for someone who has been in a Christian frame like their whole life, who like, whereas like there are people who have not been in that frame whatsoever, and like sometimes you know, what should their faith be in? How do they encounter it? You see what I'm saying? Like, it's yeah.
I guess I would want to tell the story, his story, and share it with him, a person, right? If I was discipling somebody, I'd kind of go through the gospel message, and I guess that I would kind of operate it from that way.
Yeah, but again, you're talking to someone who's already inside the framework.
No, I'm saying if you came to me,
you can't disciple somebody who's not there.
Well, don't you think? I mean, I guess to your point, they were like the disciples were already Jews, right? So they already believed in God. They just needed to understand who Jesus was when he called them to be disciples, right? So they didn't fully understand what was going on, but they definitely believed God exists. We believe God. God is one, you know, from their Jewish culture. So they had a framework. So to your point, I get that. It's not like you're talking to an atheist, right? And it's not like he's discipling Greeks, you know, right? Where, you know, just straight out of a pagan culture.
And that's who his miracles are kind of speaking to.
That's who you think they're speaking to?
In some sense, I think the miracles are speaking to anybody he's doing a few things. It's like breaking the frame of those who, like some of the Jews, and then it's like opening like speaking to somebody who would like the Greeks and stuff. It's like drawing them in, and then but also like trying to set the Jewish leaders straight. So that's my point. I mean, I think there are miracles, and I think you think there are too. But the choice of words tripped me out at first, because, well, first of all, I came in partway through and I'm like, what the hell is he talking about, and why is he saying it like that? Because I think there are people who it might be a harmful move to say it kind of the way that. So I guess I would say it differently. Yeah.
I think that's fair, because I do what I came through yesterday with is realizing that being right, even if I was right, is it helpful? Like, does it help people? And the fact that they've felt and experienced some amazing things in their life, and then all you're doing is it appears as all you're doing is coming over and pissing on their campfire, and that's not what my intent was. It's,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And it's like, golly, there's people that are called to Christ in such a magnificent way that God literally speaks to them in their place in such a way that it doesn't mean the same thing to me as it would to that particular person, right? And it's unique, and I would even go as far as to say it's God, right? I mean, not a God. It's a miracle that it's God demonstrating himself directly to that person. And that is a miracle. I mean, in a small M sense, I guess, it's like, that's a miraculous, that he would even care.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one of the things that being on the outside of Christianity for most of my life, I think I feared the kind of Pharisaic attitude of Christians, and at least what I perceived, like looking back, that's kind of what I was perceiving. Like, I wouldn't have had the language then, but looking back, it was like, um, yeah, this like kind of like egoic gatekeeping that was taking place, and yeah. So I mean, I think, like, I don't know. I guess those guys were talking about open theology. I don't know, like, because you were saying that yesterday, I think it was, like, you didn't believe in
Yeah, open theism.
Yeah, I think it's like both and. That's the sovereignty of God. It's like, I believe that God, one of the most consistent patterns playing out across the whole thing is that he is the frame breaker of frame breakers, and like that to me is very. There's a lot of hope in there. So, like, yeah, I mean, I just think of like I have like this image of kind of like a store clerk who, like, or the store clerk, the clerk of the universe. It's like, well, I can kind of do what I want when I want. But I mean, I do think that that bit there. Let's say it is true that where he says, I can't do anything here because of their lack of faith. In the other book, in Matthew, he says he wouldn't. But I think in Mark, it said that he couldn't. And so I wonder if it's a both and thing. Like, it does require faith. He doesn't just. I don't know of any instances where God heals without somebody's kind of like some contribution of some sort. So, like, maybe faith, like having faith, even if it's the little faith, even if it's little faith, it's enough to you see what I'm saying? Like, I think he works with us, not just at us. And so if we don't want, or if, like, yeah, so I don't know. I'm thinking about that statement because, like, I think it's also too kind of when he goes to his hometown, he must have been not doing like what was he doing as a child as the carpenter's son. Obviously, he wasn't doing like any kind of miraculous, exceptional things there. I mean, it's a small town, right? So if he had been doing something there, they would have known about it. And I also think this thing about maybe that's what they were saying about the open theism thing. This idea of like, I really think that like there's an aspect of Jesus as man where more is revealed to him, and it's kind of like when we think, there's like when you're thinking or walking through life, things like get revealed, like there are things you didn't know previous, but as you go along, things more is revealed and more like I'm not making any sense to you guys, I'm sure. Who's that?
Claire.
Oh, is that? Oh, what's up?
Hi, guys.
Hello.
It's so simple. I don't know why you're just tying yourselves up in knots about faith, right?
I'm not tied up in knots about it.
Okay, but you don't even have to worry about the story about Jesus, right? I mean, if you already believe in God and you believe he cares about you and he's going to reward good and punish evil, then that's your faith, right? Isn't that enough? Why do you have to, go on about Jesus?
It's kind of fun.
What?
It's fun. I like it.
Oh, you like it, but it just seems so agonized, and but it really is that easy, and you just choose to believe or not believe, right?
No, I don't think it's that
No.
easy.
So what's the difficulty then? What is the difficulty?
Well, I think what was difficult for me to believe for a long time was his representatives made it very difficult to believe. What picture is that? That's really weird.
Oh, it's just a woman smoking a joint or some kind of cigarette. I quite like it. It's a big one, but it might just be tobacco. But,
nice. Do you like to smoke?
I do smoke from time to time,
nice.
but I don't
like tobacco.
Well, I catch cigarettes.
Or do you smoke cloves?
I have tried a range of, I like cigars. I don't mind joints. I smoke a range of things. I try.
Just say
I
we
try
all.
things.
But you didn't inhale, right?
Of course I do. It would be a waste of time. People go crazy when you just smoke it like a cigarette. It's like, hey, give it back. You don't even know how to smoke it properly.
That's true.
And
you can't
and you can tell when
like
actors don't smoke it properly.
Yeah.
Yeah, just wasting it. It's not just for the flavor, So, I mean, what is the problem? You just have to decide, and everybody just believes in any old crap they like anyway.
No.
I want to believe that I'm going to be naked as a Hollywood actress or whatever.
Well, the thing is like I don't understand how when I ended up having like the experience I had, it was not an act of will. I didn't just like decide to believe. It was like I was looking for a deeper connection with God, that's for sure. But I didn't know what I was going to stumble into, and it wasn't like I didn't walk my way into it in some sort of academic manner or anything like that. It was just like I was like this in one moment, and then I was like this in a completely different frame.
You met a woman that made you believe in God, right? I think that
No.
sounds. No? Okay.
No.
Or you saw signs that God might be, giving you here and there the things that you'd always been looking for. So what was that moment though when you said, I think I believe in God now? Was it something must have happened in your mind or in your life?
What happened for me was I had been doing the 12-step program stuff for years, and I was praying. I was doing all, so I didn't have any lack of like faith in God. Like I believed in God. I just didn't know exactly what, where to place. Like there wasn't a name there, you know what I mean? And so it's kind of like I believed in. I could see him out there doing things. I didn't know what it was or who to call it or anything. I was afraid to call it anything in particular.
That's kind
But I
of
was.
Jewish.
What's that?
That's kind of Jewish because Jews,
I
they
think it
don't
is. Yeah.
they call God Hashem, which is the name that they
Well,
dare
so
not.
yeah, so I'm moving out. And I think his will for me is to help other people who suffered from the same kind of illness that I suffered from. And so I was doing that, but the idea had been kind of running its course. Like it was running out of, like I was running out of connection there, or I was longing for something more, I guess. And then a friend of mine was like, "Oh, if somebody who actually doesn't believe, was like, if you ever want to read the Bible, you should read the red letters." So I was like, "Okay, I know what that means." And I decided one day when I was at work, just to like listen, because I'd never actually read much of what Jesus had said. So I started listening to it, and I got to the story of the Legion story. And by the time I was done with listening to the Legion story, I had a completely different perspective, understanding, knowing. Like it was like the world was different, and I don't know how that happened. Again, the last thing I wanted to become was a Christian. I couldn't even call myself. I still hesitate if I should, because we're such bad representatives that I think that a little bit of anonymity could do us all a little good. But yeah, so my perspective had been completely flipped on its head. And so that wasn't an act of will. It was
a gradual process.
No, it was like this. But yeah, gradual in the sense where I'm doing the thing for like 10 years and serving, but like the actual being pushed through the door was like that. So
yeah, maybe it's a kind of like a game of cascades. I don't know if you've ever played that game. In amusement arcades, and it's just layers of coins, and you put coins in, and it takes ages, and then you hit the jackpot when they all kind of fall down.
Yeah.
And you collect.
Yes. Oh, thank God, there's only one of them. I thought there were two of them. Good grief.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I remember asking Mark Jackson, because he told me this story about he was walking down Camden High Street 20 years ago, and then he believed in God. And I said, was it a gradual process or kind of, the Holy Spirit entered into me moment? And he couldn't explain. I guess he didn't really know himself. And for me, I'm just comfortable with this idea that my belief is kind of like a traffic light, and because I've known people who have at different times of their lives said, I believe, or I don't believe, or I'm not sure. So if we just factor that into our belief system, but nobody can tell you for sure anyway. I mean, they can only tell you for sure that they don't know, but obviously it's useful.
Well, I don't not believe. I can tell you for sure that God is, for sure. Like I can't prove that to you, but that's not up to me. Like I don't think that that's, you know, I can definitely prove to my fellows what a abysmal representative of God I am. I can definitely prove that.
But I mean, even if you think God doesn't exist, this idea of cultivating a relationship with God puts us in, in touch with our better side, right? Because, when we want to believe in God, it's like, oh, God, please give me this, please give me that, make that woman love me, make him marry me, blah, 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 blah. And then once you do that, you kind of imagine God saying, well, what have you done to deserve your prayers being answered? What have you done?
Yeah. That's why
And then it would be, well, I've been a bad boy, but I'm going to be good now. It's that kind of conversation that I think helps us.
I don't use God as like, or treat God as a vending machine or something like that. That's not appropriate. I think what I can do is, like, I still think that he's a beacon. There's something to aim for, and then in prayer, what I think my understanding of prayer is that it's the way that I ask God to help weave my relationship with other people and Him, but more properly. So, like, I want to know Him better. I want to be able to have better communion with my fellows. I don't pray for, and if I do pray for like anything to be removed in my life or something like sin or whatever that is, and that's um, a matter of so that I can actually um, be better connected in His world with His kids. It's not so that I feel better or something.
Well, self-improvement would make
No, I don't
us.
believe in that.
You don't believe in self-improvement, but aren't you saying by being better connected with God, you are, making yourself better, which is self-improvement?
Well, that's the opposite because like I would ask Him to help me so that I can be not better self-improved, but that I can actually be more properly aligned in His world.
Yeah. So you're basically saying by understanding God's will and obeying it, you will just naturally do better in life or feel content and just be feeling better than before. No?
No, I think it's about like it's not about me, the person. It's about um, like like if I ask God to um, help me, it's like something like, can you take away my foolishness or my anger or my pride? Because I'm full of pride. I find that pride is like my greatest sin probably, and I don't know how to self-improve my pride. And so
Well,
I
you're
need,
talking to more people, which is good, isn't it? And people don't always agree with you, and
yes.
you evolve strategies to deal with people who don't agree with you.
Well, so I want God. I hope that God would remove my pride, or put me in. I mean, to your point, sometimes talking to other people, I can feel my pride flare up. So it's like, oh, you want to know where you're wrong? Here, how about this? And you're an idiot here, And so then, but I would like, if I'm asking God to heal, to remove the sin of pride, or heal me in some way, it's so that I can actually be a better in His in his unfolding, in his story, not my story. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like it could look like the same thing. It's just a matter of perspective, I guess.
Yeah,
Do you
but
like,
when you
Chad, do you like when, see, one of the things I love about ending my prayer the same way, I always end it in the name of Jesus Christ as opposed to in his name. You know, sometimes people truncate it. I like stating the name, but I also like before that say, if your will be done, you know, let your will be done because you know better than I do. And if you want me, you know, to be healed from this, you know, it's obviously going to be a benefit to other people. You know, if you see that work out, you know, like, so like his will to me, like you point that out all the time. It's like, you know, not my will, his will, you know,
Yeah.
because my will,
The Lord's Prayer is like the best way. It's, to me, it's the safest prayer, because it does. It's not like about me. It's about us. It's about us three.
that's what I
Me.
pray when I don't know how to pray. I feel like that's almost
Yeah.
like the Holy Spirit praying for me in a way, you know?
Yeah. And then I think, well, yeah, if you think you know how to pray, then maybe that's the one you should pray too. You know, kind of thing. I don't know. Unless, you know. But then again, there's like the danger of
yeah,
mechanizing that prayer as well. But I think at the end of the day, God will say and do what God wants. Again, and then I got to go back to, and even if, and that might even mean it's going to require our cooperation in some sense. I don't think I don't know, you know. Yeah.
I do agree the cooperation's a factor. I think people misunderstand like what my belief is that like I think it's more about cooperating with the story that he's laid out for me and for other people and how we're going to engage each other and how he's going to shine through all of that as opposed to, you know, it's specifically salvific, you know, meaning I have to cooperate in order to be saved. Well, no, my cooperation is proof that I'm saved, you know, like in that kind of framework. But the whole idea is if I'm not cooperating, what does that mean? If I'm not loving, what does that mean? You know, it's like it means I'm a disgusting, rotting tree, you know, and I'm not going to be perfect. You know, I'm gonna have these moments where I can feel it inside, like a rage builds up. You know, it's like all of a sudden this stuff overcomes me, and I know that I'm about to take my will and I grab a hold of it, you know, by the horns and ride it like some damn bronco, which is like not what I think he wants me to do. You know, and it's hard, man. Sometimes, especially when emotions start overwhelming me, it's like, no, man. Like, and I guess that's why I say crap like balance and stuff. It's just like for me, I have to say, whoa, you know, maybe you're feeling something and it's not necessarily you shouldn't feel it, but am I gonna go ahead and be led by the damn feeling? Am I gonna be consumed by that feeling and it's gonna affect other people and negatively, you know?
Well, and I don't know. Like, I think as far as like damnation or anything like that, none of that stuff is any of my business, really. I don't think I'm a universalist. I think there's a principle at work which I abide by, which is, I think that as grotesque and offensive as it may be, that the most hideous of sickened souls could be saved or forgiven even against their will. I think if God is all loving and all powerful, that he's damn well, he could damn well do whatever he wants. And so I mean that I don't know about that. I mean, but I feel like I have to have the humility to say that that is entirely possible and maybe even likely. Um, and then, but I also don't feel like aiming in the framework that I have. I don't think aiming towards like assuming that I'm going to go to heaven or something is that to me is a sin. And but rather becoming a servant, a steward of to help others get there, if whatever there is. That's the proper orientation, I think, for me. So I can't
Yeah,
speak for other people.
I like the hope in Christ. I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like that to me is the thing that I'm resting my faith on, is the thing that, despite, while, like the verse that says, while we were still sinners, you know, I mean, it's incomprehensible to me to why he would save anybody, but then yet he does. And it's like, and I guess that's the thing that just wrecks me every time. And so, like, this word assurance, it's like, well, it's like it's for a human mind to rest in something that, for me, that we would even be talking like this with any kind of humility, honest humility. Like, we really have no idea what he's gonna do, and what what like, to know the mind of God, as they say. It's like, and but to desire him and to want to learn more about him and draw closer to him. It's like, to me, if you don't call it assurance, it's just like, it gives me comfort in my heart, in the hope that I'm resting in, I guess, is the best way to reword it.
I feel like there's something like this. If there's a marching order, see it, Claire. The marching order is something like, listen, son, I know that you want peace and whatever, but there's no room for you in there. But I would like you to help them get there. I want you to do that. That to me is the marching order. It's like, okay, it's something like that. It's regardless of what he decides. If he decides I don't belong there, but that he still would have me serve him, I think, you see what I'm saying. It's like the folks who rush into the burning building to help somebody else, even though they're not going to live. It's kind of like that. So I'm not saying that it's the case. I don't know what the case is exactly, where I'll, if there is, or where I'll land, or where I'll, whatever. It's not. It's 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 the to live in service to that principle, and then whatever he wants to do is his business. So
What do you
yeah,
what do you think of that verse? This is always fascinating to me, because I think, like, yeah, I have love for people that are in my community. I have love for people I am in relationship with. I even can muster up love people that don't necessarily act loving, right? But when Paul says, when he's praying for a church and he's praying for everybody to get it, for these Jews he's talking to, for them to recognize that what he's saying about Christ is true. And he's even willing, as if he could even be willing to sacrifice his own soul
for them. Like, golly, I mean, that's
Yeah.
incomprehensible to me to think. And
Yeah, I believe it, man.
part of me is like, is that even right? Like, it's like if he is calling you to love him and obey and do things that he's drawing you to do, but I'd be willing to sacrifice eternity with him so others could get it. That type of love is just completely incomprehensible to me.
Well, to me, that is the aim. That's actually the actual. I didn't even know that existed, and that what you're talking about existed. That's funny. Yeah, I didn't know. Yeah, I'm not very good at Bible stuff, so that's funny to me. That sums it up exactly. Which is kind of ironic. So I do like Paul, but sometimes I think Christians want to be more like. It's more like what would Paul do rather than what would Jesus do, and yeah, but like almost like a caricature of Paul. Like everybody wants to be the Apostle Paul and go out and start the church and speak to all the churches, and you know what I mean, and like kind of be like this, you know, without maybe his his experience, quiet humility of like being alone for 13 years or whatever it was, and you know, and developing that wisdom and discernment over that quiet time, but we, like, so you see what I mean? Like we get like goofy about stuff.
It's almost like his life is bizarre because he clearly always, always, always pointed to Christ. And it's like, I guess it's so weird. His story is like the almost like the opposite of how we hear the rest of the apostles. It's like he went from being a zealot for the temple and the Jewish faith, or the Hebrew faith, and he was literally willing to kill for it and put men and women in prison, and a radical change happens. And then from that point on, he's willing to suffer stuff that we're not, like, I want to be like Paul. Well, guess what? Paul probably suffered more than anybody else, the way it sounds like, when he goes through the list of things that he had to go through. The lashings and the drownings and like, just he rattles off this long list of things that he had to go through.
It's almost like he had a death wish.
Yeah, imagine that. He says, I'd rather be with the Lord, my Lord Jesus, than to be here, but yet I'm supposed to be here clearly, so I'm going to do this for him. But I guess the point I was trying to make was that his arc was of debauchery to drawing to a faith and a walk that is like kind of incomprehensible. Whereas I feel like the disciples, or the rest of the apostles, didn't have that same arc. Their arc was, they kind of walked with him. They didn't understand what was going on. They've had a lot of failures through their walk, misunderstanding some of the things that we're doing. Like even Paul corrects Peter in one of the councils, and Peter realizes, he's right, and James rules and says, yes, this isn't right. We're not going to hold, Gentiles to the standard. It's like they're having these conversations and realizing the whole reason, right? And it just seems like the arcs are totally different, and
Well,
I
I
guess
feel like he
that's,
was always very faithful, even when he was persecuting Christians. He was being faithful.
yeah. Yeah, it must have been a complete can't even describe the type of reckoning to come to grips with realizing the guy that you were the God you were zealous for is the same God you're persecuting.
hmm
And it's like, whoa. It reminds me of, like, that we talk about having that aha moment. Some people have that in recovery. It's
hmm
like it just sometimes it happens through the fourth step, sometimes it happens after, maybe much further along. But you have this moment of clarity, and it's just like, holy crap. And all of a sudden you can see, which is funny because Paul was blind, right? And then he was able to see later. And it's like such a great, even though this happened, this is such a great metaphor to my life, you know? And I don't claim to see everything because, gosh, I have blind spots without a doubt. I mean, I guess that's why I do like having these conversations, because um, it's kind of like yesterday when we brought up miracles in the beginning. I definitely, by the end of it, and this is why it was a bummer that we got cut off, but by the end of it, I definitely understood why there was a value for people to keep believing that the miracles that weren't necessarily being raised from the dead, but personal miracles that were occurring in people's individual lives, why it mattered and why it's not right to crap on that. And so, like, distinguishing words isn't really helpful. Probably not. This is where theology probably gets messy. It's like it can do more damage than it can sometimes be a good thing. And obviously love. If there's no love, what's the point?
I mean, if you were to see them, that's the thing. Like, if we were to actually witness, um, like, bona fide healing miracles, whatever, see somebody, get up and start walking or whatever, would you believe in it still? I mean, or would you think, oh, that's somebody's pulling witchcraft or whatever? And it's back to the old idea of if he was with us right now, would we even recognize him? And probably likely not. Hopefully yes, likely not.
And it's almost like there's this forget what it is, I forget where it is, but it talks about how we may be entertaining angels. The idea is always to be as if, it's like, and I've had those experiences in my life where I did something and I wasn't loving, and the situation gone away, it passed, right? And so they're no longer, the situation isn't, it already happened. I've acted a certain way. And then I have this realization, what if that was an angel? Because my heart sank with how I responded. I had this conviction that I was not the way I should have been. And it's almost like, like people bring up in the corner all the time, if you've done this to the least of these, you've done this to me, and it just constantly reminds me of my sinful nature, my constant, you know, and so, like, every time those situations do happen now, not every time, meaning I'm perfect in this. I'm saying I'm much more aware because of that situation and how I treated this particular individual, and it wrecked me because I couldn't go back and change the way I behaved. That when I have those situations now and they're in front of me, I it there's a quicker thing that goes on in my brain that says, wait a minute, pause. Are you going to lean away from what your heart is telling you to do, and how you're supposed to behave with this person? Or are you going to lean into the old way of being, and be selfish. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm glad I'm a work in progress. I mean, because God forbid, I just like to think, sometimes I feel like I go backwards, but then there's other times where it's like I can see a glimmer of forward progress. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Excuse me.
I appreciate you coming on today, man. I sorry if we got excited earlier.
You got excited.
I did.
Not me. I don't get excited. What did you say? I was moody. Think I can help this?
Mm.
Now imagine being married to me.
How awesome was your the campfire thing? That must have been amazing. I always feel like when people don't really do a lot of talking about it, it must have been amazing.
Yeah, it was great. It was how to say that? Just what the doctor ordered, I suppose. It's like yeah, it's just right. I don't know how else to say it. Because like, how do you I don't know, how do you talk about like what it was like? Yeah,
I'm sure Ron can talk about it.
yeah.
He's over there on the tractor.
I mean, like, how do you describe it? You know what I mean? It's like, wow, it's just a really good, really beautiful, and great to be a part of that.
I think that describes it pretty good.
Mhm.
I think anybody who tries to explain it, you're always going to fail for words. It's like describing love. Do the best you can.
Yeah,
Not going to get it perfect, but you share what you got, and then people usually understand it.
definitely.
I think it's like, yeah. Um, man, I've loved this morning, and I'm like, I had to come in when I think for me, there is a shift going on in my life again after salvation, which was a lightning strike aha moment. And I've been experiencing like a 5-year gentle rain transition. And I think for me, it's not so much the confusion of like knowing that God is real, which was very confusing, but after processing that, it's kind of shifting within. I don't know if you call it a frame or an arena. Like when I think I have all my ducks in a row, and then God reorders them, and it was to my benefit. Like my ship was sinking spiritually, or at least wobble, listing to one side, and then when he straightened it out, it's in a way I don't understand, but yet love. Because when I think Chad was talking about being reading the Gospels, and then like I when Claire was either when you were talking about being was it being pushed through the door or walking through the door? I think in my opinion, God can actually push people through the door, and it's our choice to stay on that side. You might get pushed, but you always have a choice to say no. But in the yes comes, I think that's where, I don't know, that's where the love comes in. And when you give him your yes, it can be confusing and incredibly beneficial. And I don't have anything else to go on except you just do it regardless, like Paul, regardless of the consequences. knowing that the outcome eventually will be good, even if you have to go through some crazy hardships.
Well, I think that the outcome is always
Mhm.
good. Like
Okay.
it's the God is good, being is good. That's
Mhm.
the kind of like that is the that's reality. Everything's resting on that.
And how do you get that perspective? I mean, I almost feel like what we're talking about is, why do you stay? You stay because you're so grateful and you have such gratitude, and then hence what you can even see things the way that you're talking about, Chad, right? It's like you're not going to know what good is because you didn't really experience the bad, right? So there's a gratitude for knowing the bad and now experiencing a good. And it's like, no matter how bad things get now, it's nothing in comparison to how it was when we walked without him, you know?
Yeah. And I think that's what yeah, man, I wish I could explain what's going on better. But it's okay. So I have a choice to either live in spiritual pain or not. And to not live in spiritual pain and live in a blessing comes at the price of me admitting God does something different from my past understanding and from the understanding of all my friends within my community in real life. So that means there'll be a change on the outside, people, places, and things. But on the inside, I get to keep the good stuff. Not just the lack of pain, but the kingdom of heaven, with everything that comes with it, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that. Because
okay.
It's like the difference of joy and happiness, right? Like, people don't understand why you can have joy, but yet you can have an uncomfortable situation and be going through difficulty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So let me lay this one on you. When Jesus was on the cross, I wonder if one of his thoughts was to Satan going, "I got you just where I want you." I'm like, finally, this is it. When he said that it is finished, I wonder if he's like, "That's it, boys. Like, that's a wrap." And it's a victory. Mm-hmm.
It reminded me of that song. I mean, growing up as a Christian, right? But I went my own way after. But growing up as a Christian, there was a Christian artist, Carmen, and he had the Champion, the song "The Champion,"
Yeah.
where it's the
Yeah.
boxing match between Jesus and Satan, and
Mhm.
Jesus is getting beat up and he gets knocked out, and God's the referee, and he comes over and he starts counting, and he says 10, 9, 8, and the devil's going, "What are you doing? You're counting wrong." And and he gets all the way 3, 2, 1, and he is risen. And it's like the devil finally realizes, oh no.
Mhm. Did I just lock up?
No, you're good.
Oh, okay. I think all right, for that idea, this is going to sound so weird, but I think as a Christian, you are destined and supposed to lose hard in what the world sees as losing, but in the spiritual realm with him, that's when you win. When I am willing to give up everything I cherish for him, and then he gives me everything that he has that goes beyond what I cherish. That when I get the real encounter with him, his presence, then I become fulfilled on the inside, and everything on the outside becomes just something, shifting sand, dust. Not that it isn't important and good, but compared to eternity, it ain't nothing. And for me, that's been the hardest battle, is picking that and listening to his voice. I'm getting better at it because of all the mistakes I've made and the owies that I have brought upon myself. But now that I've learned to avoid the owies, which is basically resisting him, it seems like he's giving me healing from the owies, healing from the spiritual pain. And not only that, but an invitation into a new relationship and almost like I don't know, realm, or I don't understand, a new facet of love. Now I can work with that. And that's the trade. Yeah.
Sorry.
That's scary too when you take that all the way to its thought conclusion. The
Yeah.
idea of being willing to lose everything. Like, I mean,
Right.
can we even, to even comprehend that? I mean, the things we love in this world the most, to be willing to love,
Mm-hmm.
to be willing to lose all of that, like that's a type of faith that I don't think most people can fully, even me. I mean, like there's things
Mm-hmm.
from a comfort standpoint that God, like really, would I be willing to lose that? Like, and in America, I don't think we have a true understanding necessarily of 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 being honest, truthful about that idea, that concept, let alone even in our own families, like to being willing to lose all of that. Are
Mm-hmm.
you kidding me? Like I don't think he would ever want that. Well, no, of course he probably doesn't want that. But to be willing
Mm-hmm.
is the
Right.
insane part.
Mm-hmm.
Chad,
I'm
you haven't
wondering.
said anything in a while. Yeah.
I was just wondering if, like, if he ever boasted, you know, like when, like, cause like I can't imagine he was up on that cross boasting. Uh, like and I think he was honest the whole way through. So I think even in his pain and anguish, the fully man aspect of that, there's a lot going on there, and that I think about often. I think about the God part is like beautiful to me, but it's not the impossible part. It's the fully man part.
Hmm.
Yeah, that
Huh.
is
Huh. Yeah.
like one of the most beautiful parts of the whole thing. Um,
What do you like about it?
well, I think that I had this intuition that before I had my kind of captured moment, that any kind of spiritual leader would be actually humble, and then I couldn't imagine how a God man could be humble. Like you say, so
Mm.
I thought it was like this lack of humility or whatever, which is absurd now that I think about it. But like the actual fully man part is the humble part,
Mm.
and so like to be to have sovereignty like this God sovereignty, and um, to come down and be man, fully man, is like to kind of not let Jesus take the wheel, kind of thing, by being man. Do you see what I'm getting at? It's like to kind of surrender all the all-knowing things. Like I think that he had a connection to the fully God aspect of it, but as man, he was like fully man. He was like he didn't know, like he wasn't like all knowing as fully man. Do you see what I'm getting at? It's like this
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
weird
Yeah.
kind of thing
He
that
had
he had.
he was limiting himself.
Yes, but in a truly humble way,
Yeah.
and
You
like
know what the word? You know what a word they a lot of times use is he condescended, which sounds so like, oh, no, like, no, it's like he really condescended to me, you
Yeah.
Hmm.
know?
Well, I think he was.
And it is different too after he rose from the dead and he's about to ascend. It's like, I don't think that when he's saying, I'm going to my proper place, with the Father, one would say, "You're not being very humble, Jesus." You know what I mean? But but in reality, it's like no, he's conquered death, and now he's going to send the Holy Spirit, and it's going to be this thing that is going to be better than just walking with Christ physically. That he's actually
Hmm.
going to reside in our hearts in a way that it's like having him with us at all times, and that's why he had to go. I'm going to send you another, and it's a good thing that I go.
What's the
you
part where
know
he tells Mary not to touch him yet? What does he say to her?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. She's at the tomb, and she goes, "Do you know where he's at?" And he goes, he just says, Mary. And she looks and realizes it's him, and she's about to maybe hug him, and he says, "Don't touch me. I have not yet ascended," or something. I think it's ascended.
Yeah.
But yeah, he yes, he says, "I have not yet gone." Which, okay, so what are you thinking?
Well,
he's
I just had this.
curious.
I just had this thought because, like, later when he tells Thomas to touch him,
Yeah.
so
Hmm.
that's weird because he hasn't fully yet ascended there either. So what does that mean?
Can I
Again, he's
give you an
almost
opinion?
willing. I feel like he's almost willing to let it all crumble just so Thomas can see. But I don't think Thomas actually does it.
Well, if I can throw some, all right. So all right. I'll give you my opinion. You're right on some part. This is not my own stuff. I boosted it from a guy named Dan Moeller. He thinks that when Mary saw him, he had yet not yet ascended to the mercy seat in heaven. To like he is the perfect sacrifice for us all. The penal substitutionary atonement or something like that, and he's about to go there, but he's so he can't let Mary be bummed out. He says hi before he gets there, and if she would have hugged him, he thinks it would have botched the deal. And so not only so he did risk everything, but he also knew Mary would not botch the deal. But with Thomas, he had already done the deal, gone to heaven, fixed everything, came back down, and was now just doing the post game encouragement and guidance thing. And with Thomas, he just went full on, "Hey, dude, come on, stick your hand in my side. It's okay. The deal is done. You can trust me." So that's just a thought that I've heard that I do kind of like, because when he said, "Don't touch me," I'm like, okay, there's a reason for it, huge. And that's the only guess I've come across that kind of
Check this
explains it.
out. Check this out. It says, I was asking Logos just because I wanted clarity. It says Jesus tells Mary to not cling to him because he had not yet fully ascended to the Father, and his
Hmm.
plan was to ascend to the Father and send the Holy Spirit. So the fellowship with Jesus would continue through spiritual communion rather than physical presence. Mary needed to release her desire to hold on to Jesus's earthly form and instead embrace faith and spiritual presence. Thomas faced the opposite challenge. When Jesus spoke to Thomas, it was to rebuke for lack of faith. Thomas had declared he would not believe until he touched, and Jesus invited Thomas to examine his hands and side, telling him to believe rather than to disbelieve. Mary needed to let go. Thomas needed to strengthen his grip.
Right.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, but and I don't think it's not clear whether Thomas actually does stick his hand in his side or whatever.
Right.
But it's almost as if, like, again, it's another instance where he's willing to leave the 99 to save the one. In other words,
Yes.
it seems like he's
Yes.
almost willing, like to so-called botch the whole deal just so that Thomas can see. So like,
yeah, yeah,
I think that's true for both of them. I think he was
yeah,
dealing with them in a personal way, individually, with where their struggle was, because he knew Mary
that's the
hmm
was going to
case
want to
everywhere,
cling, and
right?
yeah, what?
Yeah, I don't think he ever does like a kind of like a like some sort of package deal for like kind of
Yeah,
like
not.
healing thing. It's like everything is personal.
Yeah, it's also interesting how having a faith like that woman that talked with PBK, this selfish thing, this idea that
Yeah,
it's all only for me, when the right orientation is it's all only for him. Now it's good that we have this personal relationship, this special bond with him and us, that like this personal thing, but yet not losing sight that it's not all for me. I mean, it is for me, but it's not all for me. You know what I mean?
yeah. Well, it is interesting how he healed her personally. It was all for her, but not all for her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder, like, is my faith so poor that I wonder, like, he's sitting in this van, like literally sitting in this van with me, and I can't see him, like the whole Megan in the wilderness, and the carpenter comes through. I mean, I wonder how often he's done that to me, and I couldn't see, you know, how often does that happen?
That's funny because part of my working through childhood abuse, when I sat with the counselor, that was one of the things that the counselor had me do, because he was a Christian counselor. And he had me close my eyes and he had me imagine the abuse, pretend to be in that situation again, to encounter it again in my mind. And he said, I want you to look over and see that Jesus is standing right there. And he's weeping for you. He's weeping because of what the world has done to you. And I was wrecked. I mean, that wrecked me. And it was, for me, that was a very big moment in healing, because I guess I always, as a kid, you just think you're just by yourself, I was all alone. But to actually think of him as actually being with me and what he must have been experiencing. Yeah.
Actually, that's the best inner healing there is, because that's really um, I, okay. So that's what I've learned from the Catholics, which I really do love. They have confession down like really good, and that's and exorcism, which is basically just restoring someone to a good, healthy walk with God. I think that's part of real forgiveness when you can do that, when you realize and experience that God is with us even in the pain. And then when you realize he's with you in the pain, you realize you're not alone. It's not for nothing. You forgive, and then you overcome it. And not only do you overcome it, but then you can become the master of that emotion and experience. And you get better and overcome it, and then at times help others overcome it as well. And that's the fun, in my opinion. that's when you just become a prayer monster. Like, no, we got this.
I love that he gave you that gift, Ron. The gift of prayer is I don't know about any other gifts. But I know for sure he blessed you with the gift in a heart for prayer, and everybody benefits from it. And it is a glorious thing.
It's fun, I think, okay, cool. I'm hesitant to take. I feel uncomfortable, but not in a bad way. You know what I mean?
You're
Like,
just
I
you're
don't
just
want.
willing. You're just willingness is the thing. Willingness to have
Oh,
him use you in that way.
I think it's like cussing. Like, I think once you get used to cussing, you can do it, and it's also your heart posture.
Oh, I love you, Ron.
If you just think it like that, like, shit, I used to say stupid stuff all the time in the past. Let's just let it rip. Like, if you don't mind your what is it? Your if you don't mind being tagged by, like, oh, you're that. Well, like, whatever. And then it does get easier, and I think, like, things. And I hope I'm a carrier. Like, it's I think it's almost like a skill. It is developed. Like, dude, when I first came to faith, I wasn't gonna say anything. I didn't, but you learn. But yeah, I appreciate it. It's not so much I appreciate it, it's just fun. So, but
Yeah, to be a part of his plan.
yeah.
Yeah, that it's a pretty cool thing to experience for sure. I think, and I think you're right. New Christians, it's funny, like when you ask somebody to pray that doesn't normally pray, it's like, it can seem like I never would want to put anybody in an awkward position, but and make them feel uncomfortable. That's not the goal,
hmm
but it does build those spiritual muscles. It's like
hmm
you're saying you're a Christian. You believe this. I can see you believe this. Now let's work on your communication with God and see what He can do through your prayer. And
Yeah.
and not everybody is. Obviously, people's prayer life can evolve and that spiritual muscle gets strengthened. But I still think there is something different that he definitely touches certain people. Like there's a prayer ministry at church, right? The
hmm
ones that sit up front at the
hmm
altar at the end of the service, and some of them are elders or
hmm
deacons, and they'll be down there praying for people with needs. That's essential, I think, in a worship. And even in our pro service, we circle around. We do a giant circle, and we'll either get
Oh, wow.
prayer requests. We'll get praise reports, um, or maybe even giving somebody a thank you. Like
hmm
recognizing something that they're doing and that's really helping them. And so I think
Right.
it helps build that community. So like that's special too. But yeah, the prayer warriors and the prayer teams at these churches,
hmm
they shouldn't be underestimated.
And beware of old grandmas.
We
They will
lost
mess
Chad, I
you
think.
up.
Did we
Ah,
lose
bummer.
Chad? Yeah.
Yeah, that or he dipped out. This has been it really fun. I've not been on your stream, I think, in the morning too often at
For a
all.
while, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
you
because
were the
I'm at.
perfect cherry, the cherry on top. This
uh,
this is this is how this is how we need to end the stream.
cool. Well, I tell you what, and by the way, when I do ask other people to pray, I think it's because if you push someone, not hard, but maybe invite them to pray, it's like teaching
Encourage.
a bit. Yeah, that's it. It's never to shove someone into it, but it's more like encouraging, like, you can do this. And usually once they get over the fear of it, then they're like, oh, okay, that's not so bad. You get them acclimated, and then you see them off to the races. And I'll be honest, dude, if you really want to see something happen, go around new believers who are like just learning to pray. Shoot, dude, if I need a miracle, I'm going to shut my mouth. I'm going to find me someone new. I'm like, dude, come here. Listen, in your own words, I need da 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 da. And they're like, okay. And that usually sounds like, hey, Jesus, it's me. Would you mind this thing over here? And then all of a sudden, whammo. I'm like, thanks, dude.
Yeah, and
It just,
I do appreciate the encouragement too. I think I'm going to try to not make it live, but like maybe 5 minutes before the morning show, or at least mine, I'm going to drop the link early, try to be prepared early and not make coffee. That was the issue this morning. But before I go live, drop the link and give the people, anybody that's wanting prayer or that wants to pray together with me, like maybe we can do like just a 5-minute prayer time and then go live. You know what I mean? And I think that would be nice.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, call to action, right?
That's cool. I like that quite a bit. Actually, I'd be in on that. No, because I like that quite a bit because Hobbit does stuff like that as well.
Yep.
And that's I think that's outstanding. I really do. So, well, dude, I'm about to bounce.
Yeah, have a wonderful day, man.
All right.
Just so you know, she thinks your tractor's sexy.
Oh, you know what? I got to tell you, she'd be right. So, yeah, boy. So, all right, dude. Yeah.
Any last words?
Yeah, cause trouble. Don't get caught. Repent later.
Amen.
Bye.
See you, Ron.
Bye.